Welcome to November. Despite the Christmas sweater that you see, I'm going to be talking about what happened during the month of November. On the 4th of November, Haley, Walt, and myself got together and we created a gigantic blanket pillow fort in my living room. It was awesome, pretty much, like the best adult fort that you can have. It included beer and nachos and watching Die Hard, both the first and the third Die Hard. There was also lots of coloring. The Walt did not color with us, but he did slide in and out of the pillow fort without destroying it. So he attempted his best to do that, and he crawled in and out of the fort, which I did not expect him to do, so that was really cool. He is a very serious person, very mature, and I am very much not like that at all. So it's a very interesting take. He keeps me very grounded. So I was kind of surprised that he actually would partake in a pillow and blanket fort with Haley and myself. But he did a very good job. It was a lot of fun. It was a great night. Highly recommend doing that sometime if you ever want a really fun, relaxing night in, but you want to do something a little more than just watch a movie. On Friday the 6th of November, Haley and I ended up going to Perry's again. It was a really late night for Friday night, which is really odd to say, I guess, but our Friday night is kind of our Monday night, and we work really early on Saturday mornings, but we stay out really late. It was still a lot of fun. It was really good dancing. We met a group of different guys. We've met a couple groups of different guys over the past little while going to Perry's, and I believe this night we met Russian. One of the other times we went to Perry's, we met a group of guys from Amsterdam and Sweden and Russia. I think this was the time where we just met the one Russian and some Americans. There's a lot of guys that come to Guangzhou for university courses, so they're usually here for about 3 months. So it's kind of interesting, though, when you go out on the weekends, like the actual weekend days, to the bars, because you see a lot of other foreigners that you don't get to meet normally. On the 7th, I ended up going out to the Brew that Saturday night and hanging out with Paul and Rayan to start. We went and played some Chinese card game at the Brew. It ended up kind of being like a role play. I was told it's very similar to like a Magic card game with like a Dungeons and Dragons-esque vibe. I'm not really sure. I've never played either of those games, but it was a lot of fun. If I can find it anywhere online, I will throw a description or a link to the game up on my blog for you guys. On the 8th, I ended up going to a different Perry's out in Taoyuan area for Alice, one of the Chinese staff members who used to be an LP at THP. She transferred over to Kongwang Center, but it was her birthday, so we all ended up going out to Perry's to go celebrate her birthday. It was kind of a late night. Sundays are my 12-hour days, so I didn't get there until really late at night, and I have to work the next day, so I didn't stay out very late, but it was really good, and she is a great person, so it was really nice to go and celebrate that with her, especially since I hadn't seen her in a little bit, since she doesn't work at the center anymore. On the 11th, Haley, Drew, and myself, we ended up going to the Botanical Gardens here in Guangzhou. By subway, you could probably get there from my place in about roughly 30 minutes is my guess, give or take. By the bus, it was like an hour and 10 minutes. I was told that the bus was faster. That was a lie. It took us forever to get there. But the gardens are massive. They are absolutely huge, and they are so beautiful. So if you ever need to walk around and see some nature, that is the place to go within Guangzhou. We then met up with Walt at the Mall of the World in Zhejiang New Town, and we went for some sushi for lunch. Guangzhou was not necessarily known for sushi when it first became a city, but now it's actually gotten a little better, and the sushi is pretty good. After that, we then went to the museum, the Guangdong Provincial Museum here in Guangzhou. I will put a link to the museum up on my blog for you guys. It's a really, really cool museum, and it's free. So if you're ever in Guangzhou, you take your passport to one of the gates, and you can get in for free. And there's actually whole entire exhibits on the history of Guangdong province for Guangzhou. It was really interesting. Lots of pottery. Pretty much every museum I've ever been to in China, just lots and lots of pottery. But other than that, it was really interesting and thoroughly enjoyable night or afternoon. And then Walt and I spent the night together. We watched some movies and relaxed the next day. On the 18th, so then the next weekend, so it was just a lot of work after the museum from then on in. The next weekend, I ended up actually being really sick. So it's about once a month I get really ill, especially now that the weather is changing, because it's actually getting kind of cold, especially if you're used to the weather here in Guangzhou now. So I came down with my first cold of the season, my first winter cold. And I told Walt that he didn't need to come. I was going to lay in bed and just get better. But he showed up anyway. So we hung out and just watched movies the whole entire weekend. Didn't do a whole lot, didn't have a whole lot of energy to do a whole lot. And then the next weekend after that was our Thanksgiving. Most of the people here that I'm friends with are American. I am one of the only Canadians. So we celebrated American Thanksgiving this year. I managed to find a turkey here in China, and I had purchased a tiny little oven, like a portable little oven, last year. So I actually had a way to cook a turkey. So a whole bunch of us got together. Some people chipped in some money, and I made a very large Thanksgiving dinner for everybody on the 26th. Before that, however, on the 25th, it was Walt's birthday. I'm sure he would kill me for letting people know that. He didn't really announce when his birthday was, and I had to get the date out of him a couple times because I forgot. But he is the same age as me now. And I found out that his favorite food was the typical American breakfast. So that's what we had for dinner that night. All morning, I ended up making stuffing and pumpkin pie. You cannot find pumpkin puree, like cans of pumpkin puree in China. It is impossible. Thankfully, I actually found evaporated milk in one of the stores. They bring in imported food, but no pumpkin puree. I don't know if they had brought it in at some point and it was sold out, or if they were bringing some in and hadn't made it here yet. Either way, I learned that I can puree pumpkins to make pumpkin pie. So this was the most from-scratch pie that I have ever made before in my life. And it turned out pretty good, I will have to say. It was a lot more work than it would have been if they were able to get cans. But kind of proud of myself that I was able to puree a pumpkin in order to make some pies. But I started out with the 25th doing that. Walt came over, we had some breakfast for dinner, and then we went to go see the new James Bond movie, because that came out here in China on the 13th, I believe, of November. I have to say, it was a really good Bond film, I think, personally. Not my favorite Bond film by any stretch of the imagination. Better than Quantum Solace. But definitely, I think Skyfall was a little better as far as the Daniel Craig movies go. I'm sorely just upset, I guess, that Christopher Waltz didn't have a larger part to play in the movie. I thought his character was amazing. He was born to play a Bond villain, and his character just didn't have enough screen time for me. And unfortunately, they built it up so that they could potentially use his character again, but we all know Daniel Craig has made comments that he will not be playing Bond ever again, so I don't know how they can bring back in Christopher Waltz if Daniel Craig won't be back, just the way that the characters played off of each other. I won't say much more in case anybody out there has not seen the movie and you want to see it. But that was one of my complaints, I guess, or critiques of the movie, is just they didn't utilize Christopher Waltz enough. He is an amazing actor, and he was a great Bond villain, and I think they could have used him more. As well, the lead female could have been much stronger, or they could have taken the first female in the Bond movie and made her the central female character and had the younger one be the lesser female character. They could have just swapped out the actresses. It would have made more sense considering how old Daniel Craig is now. But besides that, it was, like I said, pretty good. And then the next day, the 26th, was the actual Thanksgiving. So woke up early that day, threw in the turkey in my oven. Thankfully, it fit in the oven. I was a little worried about that. I woke up, I think it was the morning of the 25th, completely freaked out, thinking like, oh no, I hadn't actually thought to like check if the turkey would fit in my oven after, before I invited all of these people to my house. And what if it doesn't fit? I'm gonna have to go out and buy like a metal garbage can and remember how to like cook a turkey in a garbage can and figure out how to rig that up on my little patio outside so that I can actually cook this turkey. It all worked out. It was awesome. I've missed turkey. It was the first time I've had turkey in about 2 years. So that was really nice. It was a great Chinese family dinner. Paul, Megan, Mike, Joey, Rayan, the new girls, Haley and Drew, Walt, myself. We all showed up. We had a big family dinner together, and that is my China family, so it was really great. We started out the day with some mimosas while we got the veggies ready, and then the day ended with lots more drinking and games, so just like a normal family. And then we were winding down in November, so it was the end of November where there was a lot more stuff that was actually happening. The very last day of November, Monday the 30th, was a very long day. So we started out with a mandatory town hall meeting of sorts for the South region of Disney English. So we all just had to go to a different center and do a training, mostly on just context and CCQs, individual group activities, things like that. After the town hall meeting, we went back to our centers, taught our classes, and then that night I managed to get a taxi cab. Almost forgot my phone and a couple other things at the center, had to run back in the center. Grabbed a cab to the airport to meet Walt because we had managed to get that Tuesday off, and we decided to do a weekend in Thailand. It is really close, really cheap in comparison to how much it would cost if you're flying from North America. And it was our first weekend away together. So in the next video blog, I guess, for you guys, I will tell you all about Thailand. We went to Phuket, and then the weekend after that was Hong Kong, and now we are here. So I will keep you guys up to date in the next post into December. That's all for November. It feels like I did a lot. Really, I guess I didn't do as much as I thought I did. The first 2 weekends, there was a lot going on, and then it was a lot of downtime, and then it was mostly just cooking and eating towards the end of the month. It just feels like a lot happened, and I didn't have enough time to sit down and do this, but I guess in the end, it really wasn't that much. especially in comparison to some of the other months where a lot happened. So yeah, I will see you guys next time, and I will let you know how Thailand was. Okay, see ya.